So right now we are in Plainsfield Township, and we're at the Plainsfield Cemetery. I'm going to show you the grave of Dick York. He played Darren Stevens on Bewitched. He was the original Darren. Of course, after he left the show, he was replaced by Dick Sargent, who was originally offered the role as Darren, but he turned it down to do something else. So a very, very tragic story about Dick York. So he got his start in acting when he was a teenager. He was on a radio program called That Brewster Boy. And in case you guys don't know, back in the day, before there was many TVs in homes, it was a pretty rare thing. So oftentimes people had radios, and they would basically do comedies and dramas, and it was all done in a radio, in a studio. So later on after that, he did some plays in Broadway. He did a couple movies, and in 1959, 1960, right around there, during the filming of a movie called They Came to Kedora, starring him and Gary Cooper, Dick York was on some kind of like a handrail car, kind of similar to when you see that in the cartoons, when it's like a rail car that has like the teeter-totter action that makes it go. And he was operating that, and when the director said cut, one of the other actors reached up to grab the handle, and instead of himself expecting to be lifting 30 pounds, he lifted basically a man, and in doing so, he tore all the muscles on the right side of his back from his spine. I've never even heard of that injury even being possible. That's very odd. And from that start is where he would suffer just this horrendous back injury. It was so bad. During the first two seasons of Bewitched, right? He was fine. Pain was being managed. He was on painkillers, all of that. During the third season, it started getting really, really bad with his back. It got so bad, the crew even built him a specially designed slanted wall for him to lean on during the, in between takes. So after the third season, you started seeing more scenes of Dick sitting in a chair or sitting in bed because he couldn't stand up. That's how much pain he was in. During the fourth and fifth season, you barely seen Darren in any of the episodes. They would always say like, oh, Darren is at a business meeting, or Darren's at the office. That's when they started focusing more on the other characters in the show, Samantha's mom, the boss, the sniveling neighbor. And even though he was in so much pain and he can barely get, it was to the point where they would literally, when you would see a scene when he was like lying in bed, they carried him from the dressing room to the bed because he couldn't walk. And even though he was suffering all those debilitating injuries, he was still collecting $120,000 a year. That's what he was getting paid to play Darren in that TV show. And he had another accident on the set. I believe it was during the fifth season where he fell, and that was it. He quit the show after that. He was just done. Very tragic. And to see a man, in the early 60s making $120,000 a year, which was, that's equivalent to almost being paid $1 million. And he went from that to being hopelessly dependent on prescription painkillers. All his money went on drugs. He was a 3-pack a day smoker. And that's what eventually ended his life. He lived here, not very far from here in Michigan. He was living off of him and his wife. They were so poor during his final days. He was living off of his $650 a month Screen Actors Guild pension. And they would even, the wife would clean houses, collect aluminum cans. These people were poor. I think that's one of these stories, these Hollywood stories that people don't know about. I mean, you know, that's his grave right there. I like that people have, still come here and they put flowers and stuff like that. Just, you're talking about one of the sadder tales in Hollywood, And I did not look this up, but I think, okay, there she is. This is his wife. Let me just wipe that down a little bit. Yeah, Joan York. I wonder why they're not together. He's about 3 graves over. 2 graves over, excuse me. Well, this one might be a grave too. It might just not have a marker, so that would be 3 graves. Yeah, very, one of those just very, very, very sad. Just a freak back injury just, ended his career. And then, of course, you're smoking 3 packs of cigarettes a day, you get emphysema, you can't breathe, and all that stuff. Very, very sad tale. And you know what, right? The random things that I think in my mind, I wonder if these people in this neighborhood, I wonder if they know that he's buried here. Because Bewitched was a very popular TV show. It was on for almost 8 seasons.